This is the book of Sirach, chapter 11, reading verse 7. It says, "Blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first, and then rebuke." I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders of the nation of Israel. Shalom to you brothers out there that are laboring, enduring the elements, making your body a living sacrifice, trying to sow the elect, making your call and election sure, seeking out your own salvation, as well as you sisters that are learning, listening, applying, and being obedient to your husbands. Shalom, shalom. Again, it's the brother Zachariah coming back to you with another lesson here on this Monday afternoon, and Lord willing, this be edifying. I got off the plantation, kind of, I came home, kind of, sat down for a second. It wasn't a bad day. It wasn't a bad day for, not too bad for Monday. Usually I call it Monday blues. You don't want to go in, which it's extremely cold today. It's cold out here. I came onto the porch and I was like, let me go ahead and try to get a lesson in, which this is not what I really expected to go into, but it's necessary. Every now and then you got to do a rebuke. All right. And I think this guy definitely needs it. If I was kind of assessing it a little bit, he even made another comment on another post. So, I definitely after, going onto his page and looking at this guy, I want to tap into this. All right. But again, this is the book of Sirach 11 and 7, which we're also going to read verse 8. But I'm going to come back to this. All right. After we go see the post that, that I posted, he made a comment. I made a comment back, and then I shared it in my stories because it's a prime example of what, one of the things that really get on my nerves, but I know it's going to continue to happen, is you got a lot of Israelites. They come into this thing. They think that they know it all, or they'll talk to you like you don't know nothing, which, one of the things is like, obviously, with me posting art, me putting scriptures up, me having my link in my bio, doing the daily lessons and teaching, I have to know something. I don't just teach if I don't know, but people will come on your page and talk to you like you stupid, or they look at your art and then they have their own thoughts and opinions about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, why does this person look like that? Or he was this age, why does he look old? They come with that type of, spirit. And I'm trying to get them out of that because, you could be commenting on something and have it totally wrong, which this individual did. OK, that's why, again, it says, blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first and then rebuke, because what happens is you post that everybody's looking. And sometimes I think they do it because they want to try to shame you or make it seem like you don't know nothing. Like, bro, I've been in this truth for 7 years. I don't know how long you've been in it, but obviously it seems like not long, because you would be teaching, or you would have a link in your bio to where someone can have access to the truth if you're a man of the Lord, as in the elect, of the 144,000, which, we don't know if we're of that number. But, one of the things you're going to be striving is even if you're not of the 144,000 and you're teaching this word, this gospel, this truth, you're going to have a link in your bio to where someone have access to the truth, and then let's just say, all right, you don't have the link, but maybe on your page, you'll be posting truth, which we're going to go to his page and see what we see on his page. And it's going to shock you. Well, I don't know. Some of y'all may not be shocked, but it's going to shock some of you. OK, for somebody that's quick to make a response on somebody's. That's why I don't do that. If I don't, if I go on somebody's page, I just put the fire, call all Yahweh Shemi Shai, Yapa, meaning beautiful. Just something, that's it. I don't do the most, I don't go on there, and every now and then you could go on a post and put a scripture up. I had, I think a brother or so, they put some precepts up on a post. That's beautiful. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Now if you come on somebody's page and you're just doing the most all in the comment section, that's just doing too much. Like you just trying to be seen, like, hey, look at me, trying to be seen, or flex in your knowledge, which that's not me. I'm one of the most humblest individuals you'll come across. OK, so I want to go to the post real quick and show y'all what this individual said, my reply, and why it led to me not only posting it in my stories, but also doing this lesson. OK, and I pray this be edifying, because if you are called, or maybe you're being built up in the spirit to eventually teach, you're going to come across people like this. All right. You're going to come across people like this and worse. This person could be sincere, could be humble. I don't know. But, maybe, time will tell. Okay, y'all. So this is the post, and I did it in this way. I just went ahead and I posted this in my stories, and then I saved it so I can get it, because I wanted to. And I posted it like this to where I can put it on the post and show y'all so that we could dive into this. But this guy Jatir Raglan, which will eventually go to his page, but he says Christ looks like a younger man. That's why they called him the Son of Man, because he looked like the son of a man. Okay. Well, he's assuming that this is Yahweh Shai, okay? Because he says Christ, but I say Yahweh Shai, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, okay? Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being the Son, all right? I comment back and I said it's the Most High Yahweh in these pics, because there's two pictures, but I'm showing this one because that's what he's trying to go off of. He says, that's why it's not wise to be so quick to make a response before assessing the whole matter. And then I did the face where like, shh, be quiet. You're doing too much talking. That's the Most High that I did right here. That is not Yahweh Shai. Okay. I don't have to put on my page every time I do a picture. This one's Yahweh. This one's Yahweh Shai. I had a girl, female a while back, and bless her, maybe. I think, she was being sincere. But she came on my page and was like, the first picture's cool, but the last picture, why does he look so old? He's a young man, and I'm like, the last picture is the Most High Yahweh. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So, she came on there and did that. So I replied, and I actually did a lesson on her. She got a rebuke, for that, because, examine first, then rebuke. All right. So I'm like, can I do art of the Most High too? Like, is it everything's Yahweh Shai? I'm doing art of both of them. So, and obviously both of them, the complexions are different. You can look at this one. He's more of he got that reddish brown type of complexion. It's not Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai make him very dark, like almost like a charcoal brown, type of complexion. It's totally different. All right. This is the Most High Yahweh that I did right here. So that's what I'm letting him know, so you jump to conclusions, which the Heavenly Father is the Ancient of Days. I actually had someone complain one time saying, well, the Most High is a young man, talking about Yahweh. And I'm like, well, you act like you sitting up in heaven, like you John yourself, you went up and seen him and all this, it refers to him as the Ancient of Days. You go into that word ancient, it goes into old, all right, elder, and all kinds of things. We look on words and stuff. We dig, they just be, a lot of times Jake just want to be a know-it-all and say something, they want to be the smartest guy in the room, instead of just like, bro, you worry about all that, worry about getting your house in order. Are you teaching? Are you repenting? All right. Are you right with the Heavenly Father? Are you examining yourself? But everybody's always, you do too much, and that's why, it got me to where I was really like drawing back a little bit from this social media stuff, because people do the most. I think some people spend more time on that than they do reading their Bible or praying to Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, or that time that you doing all that on my comment section, you can be teaching. That's why I said always an Israelite quick to say something without knowing the whole matter. You assumed it was Yahweh Shai. Go teach a Bible lesson instead of being all on my comment section. And that's what I said, because I get tired of it. But this is what I deal with a lot. Okay. So eventually we're going to go to this guy's page, but I want to pull up some precepts real quick. All right. So again, we're going to read this again. All right. Blame not before thou has examined the truth. All right. Understand first and then rebuke. Okay. Understand first. Now, if you felt like that, that was might have been, Christ, like what you saying, which we say his name, Yahweh Shai. Okay. Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. All right. If you assumed it was him and I got him looking old, you could have inboxed me and asked me, hey man, is that the Messiah? And I could be like, yeah, you'd be like, hey man, why you got him looking so old? You could have asked me that, just being sincere, and just a sincere question. If I was me and I was in your shoes, I would have done it that way instead of just boom, going all out, trying to be seen. Okay. Verse 8, okay, it says, answer not before thou hast heard the cause. See, you got to hear the whole thing, all right? It says, neither interrupt men in the midst of their talk. But the point is in 7. Okay, but I wanted to read that too as well. Now, I wanted to pull this up. All right. It says the phrase before you have seen the whole matter means not to make judgment or decision before gathering all the necessary information in context. Look at this. It is wise to avoid speaking or acting hastily. All right. As doing so can lead to embarrassment, a damaged reputation, and incorrect conclusions. All right. And that's where this guy is. That's where he's at with it. All right, so I want to go back to Instagram and I want to pull up his page. All right, y'all. So here we are on his page. This is the guy, Jatir Raglan, J Luminous. All right. And he's got 574 posts. And when you go on his page, look, this is all you see. All right. You know, he's, flexing, showing his chest, his body. Look at this. OK, I'm looking for like, some edification, some truth, something, the Bible, trying to get the word. And all I'm seeing is this guy showing off his chest. All right. And this can be a thirst trap. Maybe you're doing this, for females to see. And, it's crazy, man. All right. But this is where we at with it. And there's brothers in the faith that work out, but they don't do all this. They don't plaster it all over, letting it be seen. OK, so this is where we're at with it. And a lot of these guys, they don't got it. They're not a man of the Lord. I'm not saying he's not a man of the Lord, but there are a lot of guys that's like that. They're not in that right spirit, but they always quick to try to say something. Like I told you, Jake likes to be a know-it-all. OK. You might know about this gym stuff, about getting your body all tight and right. But we're going to go into the scriptures on this, too. It don't end with just this rebuke stuff. We're going to go into the whole exercise thing, because, see, that's what happens. Now, the scope is put on you. And clearly, like I said, and we went down a little bit. Y'all clearly seen that there were nothing but exercise videos and pictures and stuff like that. You can see all this. Nothing to do with the gospel or the truth. All right. So I'm looking up here and I'm showing y'all there's no link. All right. Like to where we can go get truth. All right. So this is where we're at with it, man. And this is why it's like, you get these guys that pop up like this, and that's why I said, go teach a lesson, since you a know it all, you made an assessment looking at my picture and assumed that was Yahweh Shai, man. OK, and then made that comment. And then I'll let you know that, hey, that was off. That wasn't him. OK, you didn't have to do all that. That's why sometimes it's cool it's best to just, keep your mouth shut, man. But if you were really serious about it, you could have inboxed me. All right. And this to show you that this guy went even further. He made another comment. He came on here and commented on this one right here. I just did because earlier I did a Cain and Abel, some art where, Cain, slew Abel, which I've been bringing that analogy out a whole lot because, Cain or Abel was giving up an offering that was pleasing unto Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. And out of rage and jealousy, because Cain was giving him some half-ass offering, man. All right. But all he had to do, instead of getting mad and jealous, you could learn from your brother, man, and do what's right. OK, let me learn from my brother. My brother, obviously, what he's doing is pleasing Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Let me learn from him so that I can do that. Instead, you slew your brother. And I'm just showing this art, And I don't know, in the spirit just led me to make them young. Some people might look at it and like, well, why they ain't got no beards on their face? Well, I made them young. They're young guys, like, early, 18, 19, 20, something like that. Young, two young brothers, and he slew his brother. I don't know, just in the spirit, I felt to do it like that. But yeah, it says the voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me. And then he made a comment, and I don't know if he was referring to me, but look, you can't really see it on here, but it got the eyes and then the little brown box. It actually was like fingers, like he's pointing at me. He got the eyes. I don't know what he's referring to with that. Maybe he's trying to be smart, so he could end up getting blocked. But it says, when will we ever get it and learn how to love our brother and esteem him better than ourselves? So what are you trying to say? Are you saying something about me? Because obviously I ain't did nothing to you. I was minding my business on my page. I just post, a little art here and there in my stories. I post current events and stuff. I'm just trying to make my call on election sure. I don't sit on social media and just stare at everybody's stuff. And I'm not on there trying to pick up females. I'm not on there trying to, be seen and be popular. I'm just on there being a vessel, for Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I'm an instrument, just pushing this gospel, this truth, so that I can be worthy of redemption. All right, be pardoned of my iniquities, so that I can make it into the kingdom. And then I also love my people so much that I do this, because now I know who we are and why we're in the boat we're in. And it hurts me to see our people like this. So I love my people. I don't hate you, man. But I understand that we also still under them curses, And then some of y'all come with that over righteous spirit. And I have to check that because, hey, you got to stop doing that. So, yeah, let me read this again. Okay, it says the phrase before you have seen the whole matter means not to make judgment or decisions before gathering all the necessary information in context. It is wise to avoid speaking or acting hastily. All right, as doing so can lead to embarrassment, a damaged reputation, and incorrect conclusions. All right. So let's head over here to the book of Sirach 32 and verse 8. It says, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. All right, be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. Sometimes people I just gotta say something, man, shut up, just always gotta just say something. And now here you are with the scope put on you, the hot seat put on you. All right. And he's not going to hearken. He might tap into this video and get mad or go on his way or be proud, but he's definitely going off. If you know so much and you're quick to come on somebody's on an actual man of the Lord and come on his page and try to call yourself correcting him when there was nothing to correct, then you should be teaching. OK, I shouldn't go to your page and see your chest all out. That's not a man of the Lord for sure. You all right? There's brothers that work out, but brothers ain't got their chests all poking out. All right. A lot of times I do art and I don't know what it is about some of these AI programs, but they like to have Yahweh Shai's chest poked out, even Yahweh. And I had some come out like that this morning and I didn't accept them. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course it generates, but I'm like, I'm not posting that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'll keep them if it's a good picture and I can see if I can go back in and try to get another picture similar, but just, him covered up. You know what I'm saying? That type of ideal, because you can use pictures as examples. All right. It's a whole lot to this. A lot of people was asking me for tips and I'd be so busy. I don't have time to tap into that. But if I really could, if I had the time, I could sit down and show people how to get like really good images, but you can use other pictures as examples, and I'm sure some have learned that already. All right. But that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. All right. So that's a good precept right there. All right. Now, you talking about, loving your brother. Well, guess what? Speaking of that, this is Proverbs 27 and verse 5. It says open rebuke is better than secret love. And open rebuke don't mean like I got to do it in broad, like in front of everybody. But obviously, this has to be turned into a lesson, because, if you was really sincere and I did reply, he didn't reply back on that. You could have said, oh, well, my bad. I didn't mean to, which, really you could have just inboxed me. But that, a lot of times, and I'm not saying that it's you, but some people, when they try to do that out like that, they were trying to shame you. You make it look like, you don't know nothing or they know more than you or this and that, which you had that wrong. That wasn't even Yahweh Shai in that picture. That was Yahweh. OK, and that's why I went back and put hashtags Yahweh and Esau. All right, which actually somebody actually put a question on one of my other posts, which I'm going to tap into that. That could be a good lesson. They asked a good question. I did respond, but it's a short answer because, it's best to go into a lesson with it. But that was a really good question. All right. It was actually one that I was thinking like, what if someone would ask this? Sometimes that comes across my mind. Like, imagine somebody asked a question like this, which somebody eventually asked it. All right. So Lord willing, I'll be tapping into that, pretty soon. But yeah, open rebuke is better than secret love. Okay. And then verse 6, it says, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. So you see that? All right. So, what I'm about to tell you or go into, it may hurt. But hey, at the end of the day, I will be a true friend. I will be a true brother. I don't hate you, my brother. You know what I'm saying? Actually, seeing you work out, I'm like, man, hey, you a little bit more cut than me. I could be hitting you up. Hey, man, give me some tips on working out, because there's nothing wrong with working out. But we need to know the origin of it. All right. So we're going to tap into that. All right. So some of this stuff, you may not like. All right. Because what I'm getting on you about is showing your chest all on your page, man. All right. Nobody needs to be seeing that. So I wanted to type in men revealing their nakedness. In the Bible, it says, yes, the Bible presents revealing nakedness as a source of shame. OK, because, yeah, it could be, shame. No one needs to be seeing that. Now, you ain't fully naked, but still, even with that right there, nobody needs to be seeing that, man. All right. You can have women that could tap to your page and they might have seen your comments. So they go to your page and they're trying to get see if you're a man of the Lord and get edification. And then boom, they're looking on there seeing all that, and that can cause women to start lusting and all kind of stuff. All right. But it says, yes, the Bible presents revealing nakedness as a source of shame, particularly after the fall of Adam and Eve. This shame is seen as a consequence of sin, representing a loss of innocence and separation from Yahweh. All right. Biblical principles also link public nakedness or immodest exposure to shame and sin. All right, with verses prohibiting certain acts and condemning those who bring shame to others through exposure. All right. See, one of the things you got to understand, my brother, is that we are kings, man. We're princes. All right. We are gods, man. We are children of the Most High. All right. We are special people unto Him. All right. And conducting yourself like that, man, is not good, man. That's not a good look. All right, this is 1 Peter 2:9. It says, but ye are a chosen generation. Look, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. Holy means to be separate, set apart. It says a peculiar people. It says that ye should show forth the praises of Him who have called you out of darkness into His marvelous light, which the scripture says that ye are the light. All right. So these are things that you got to keep in mind, man. All right. I want to go into, I did not mean to do that, but good. It has the undo button. I want to pull up some information here on gym. And it says gym is short for gymnasium. It says a term derived from ancient Greek word gymnos, which I've been bringing this out. So the whole gym thing, it goes back to a Greek word gymnos, okay, which Greek as in the Grecians. Keep that in mind. Okay, meaning naked. Okay, there's that naked again. See where we're getting? Okay. So, all right, with that, I want to go over here to some more information, just a little bit more. All right, in ancient Greek, gymnasium from the word gymnasium, all right, refers to a public place for both physical and intellectual education, derived from gymnos, all right, naked, all right. And then it says in gymnasium, all right, to exercise naked. Oh, whoa. To exercise naked. It says the term originally described the open air exercise yard where young men trained, all right, in activities like wrestling and javelin throwing, often while nude. So they were doing this stuff while they were nude. All right. Over time, it became more complex institution that also included facilities for intellectual pursuits like philosophy and music. All right. So that's crazy, man. But look, physical training. Let's read this. It says the name comes from the practice of athletes exercising nude, all right, or at most wearing a loincloth, all right, to better engage in activities like wrestling, javelin, and discus throwing and boxing. All right. So you see that? And that's why when you look at a lot of them statues, like in Greece and stuff, they always had like the little Edomite man posing nude and stuff. OK. This is Esau, Edom, man. All right. So this goes back. It goes back to those heathen, man. So, but one of the things about our people, they cannot let that Greek stuff go, man. This is 2 Maccabees 4 and verse 15. It says, not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. All right. This is our people, man. All right. This is the book of Jeremiah 10, starting at verse 2. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen," because that's a heathen custom, obviously. "And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." Now, I'm not saying that you can't work out, okay? But however, you can do it in the privacy of your home, someplace, where you ain't got to be around a bunch of people. And even if you do go to a gym, just be mindful, be circumspect, okay? And don't be in there exercising, nude or nothing like that. Well, I ain't talking like, food, but still, you don't want to be out in there showing your chest either. All right. You got a lot of sodomites, because that's a spirit that comes with that. Like I said, it goes back to where they were wrestling nude. And a lot of them sodomites, they work out. A lot of them are big into that. Okay. But it says, "For the customs of the people are vain." See that? "For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe." And if you read on, that goes into like that with the world calls Christmas. Okay. Which I'll be doing a lesson on that come December. All right. It's almost that time. We're in November. So, Thanksgiving, so-called Thanksgiving lesson will be coming up here soon too. All right. But this is 1 Timothy 4:8. With all this in mind, all right, it says this. It says, "For bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is, and of that which is to come." Okay. So this bodily exercise, but it says it profiteth little. So yeah, it does profit of something, but it profiteth little. All right. Now, like I said, I'm not condemning it. I'm not saying, getting on you, like telling you that you can't exercise or nothing like that. There are, like I said, there's brothers. There's brothers in the faith, man. They work out. They work out. There's nothing wrong with that. I've been doing a little something. I'm trying to get myself together. My sister wants me to train with her. All right. She's big into that whole working out thing. Now I told her to be mindful, what I'm saying, don't be, because my sister's she's a very beautiful woman, man, and these, them guys in there be looking and stuff, and hopefully she's not wearing no provocative stuff, be mindful. I'm just trying to protect my siblings, all right? But this is the book of Sirach 30 and verse 15. It says, "Health and good estate of body are above all gold. All right, and a strong body above infinite wealth." So yeah, health and good estate, which this is also truly going into also eating right too. All right, being mindful of that, which keep that in mind for the next precept. All right, verse 16 says, "There is no riches above a sound body, and no joy above the joy of the heart." So yeah, you want to take care of your body, because at the end of the day, your body is the temple of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. But that also goes into eating right too. Because you could be doing all that working out, which I'll be trying to get on my sister, because she be eating eating all this stuff, man, and eating out all the time. And then you go do this exercise. Why don't you just stop eating that stuff and then do the exercise? Like, all that it's nothing. And then you don't get no results. You trying to shed pounds, but you eating all that stuff that's keeping it on you. And then you think that working out is going to solve it, It's just crazy. All right, stop eating that mess, because she still be eating out, man. And I mean, like, ain't nothing wrong with eating out, but like I'm talking like the fast food joints. She likes Chick-fil-A. She gives her son McDonald's, man. That stuff is trash, man. All right, but speaking of that, this is the book of Sirach 30 and verse 25. It says, "A cheerful and good heart will have care of his meat and diet." So you'll be mindful about what you eat. And like I said, I've been trying to eat right, do right, and stuff like that. Okay. So, and I've been giving her tips, she listens a little bit, but she can't let go of some of them places, man. And I understand, because they put stuff in it, stuff to keep you addicted, this damn devil, man. That's why, man, we go so hard in this truth, man, because we hastening for this place to fall, man. Now, I would hate to see my people perish, but we know it's only about the elect at the end of the day. So with all that, let's go ahead and come to a close, because I didn't intend this to be a long lesson. Again, ain't no hard feelings, my brother, and this ain't no like, oh, this some get back. But like I said, I went to your page and seen all that, and hey, you going off, man. Nobody needs to be seeing your chest, man. Okay, no man of the Lord, man. That's no way to be representing Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Shame on you. Okay. Get it together. There's, nobody needs to be seeing your results. You want to, you share it, keep that amongst yourself, You do that in the privacy of yourself. Nobody needs to be seeing that. And you can say, well, it's my pay, I do what I want. Well, you go ahead, okay? We know that our people don't like that rebuke. Hey, this word cut deep, okay? But you came on my page, man, and trying to call out something that wasn't there, That was clearly the Most High Yahweh. That's why it's an older individual, all right? That's not Yahweh Shai. You clearly see me do all kinds of images of Yahweh Shai, but even with that, we try our best. This thing don't work in our favor, all right? And trying to make, y'all act like Yahweh Shai is 20 years old or something. Y'all want him to have white hair and a white beard and be 20 years old, which I could get pictures like that, but it's not easy, okay? When you have a white hair and a beard, it lines up. Even the AI said it usually that lines up with somebody that's older. So that's why it tends to make the pictures that way. That's why I try to, and then even with 33, they'll still make them look old. Because see, a lot of y'all are going off 33 today, which the 33-year-olds today, they're not the 33-year-olds of like the 70s, the 60s and stuff. People looked older back then. You'll look at some of them Jakes and stuff. You had some that were like 40 and they looked like they were 60. And some say they had a hard life back then. Life was real hard, Even when you look at some of the rookies and stuff coming into the NBA, a lot of them were balding and stuff. Like, hey, oh boy, hey, you, man, you balding, on the top, all that gone, You might be younger than me, So I don't know, But a lot of people looked older. You'll see some of these rookie pictures of some of them back in the day, and they looked real old. All right. But a lot of these guys nowadays, like 33, a lot of them are shaving, trimming their beards. They put dye in it, or they haven't had a hard life. They don't work hard and stuff, But this wear and tear, this place will age you out because you be working hard. You ain't getting no sleep. You're working out all day, every day. But a lot of these 33-year-olds ain't working. They in their mama's basement somewhere being preserved. That's why they look young. All right. But that's true wisdom. All right. Some of y'all are trying to compare 33 with Yahweh Shai, 33 back in the time of Yahweh Shai. All right. All the stuff that our people was putting him through, it probably was stressing him all the way out, man. All right. But let's go ahead and end it with Romans 12:1, because, you was exposing your body all on your social media. But, you want to present your body, to present your body, not to the world like that, but according to what this says right here. All right. And I'll go ahead and close it out with this. And like I said, no hard feelings, man. At the end of the day, it's all love. This is open rebuke. It's better than secret love. And hopefully you can get this and you could repent, and come back to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and stop doing that, But use your platform to push the gospel and the truth. All right. This is Romans 12:1. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, all right, by the mercies of Yahweh, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice. See, holy, acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service. Call all Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh. Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders of the nation of Israel, and shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. And to the next one, shalom.